Welcome to the Yield Tactics podcast, your go-to source for all topics related to yield and revenue management, pricing strategies, and industry insights. We're diving deep into the dynamic world of revenue management and pricing across various sectors, with a particular focus on travel, leisure, transportation industries, and beyond. From airlines optimizing seat inventory to hotels adjusting room rates based on demand, and even to theme parks maximizing ticket sales, yield management plays a crucial role in ensuring businesses extract the maximum value from their resources. Joining us are Yield Tactics senior consultants and partners, industry experts, thought leaders, and pioneers in the field of revenue management, who will share their expertise, experiences, and innovative strategies to help you stay ahead in this ever-evolving landscape.
This podcast is brought to you by Yield Tactics and Airline Tactics, the foremost consulting firm specializing in revenue management and pricing, serving clients worldwide.
Welcome to the Yield Tactics podcast, where we delve into the nuances of revenue management, sales, and pricing strategies in the world of tourism and travel. Today, we're embarking on a special journey with 4 very special episodes, a retrospective look at how we perceived the pandemic. As we revisit those turbulent times, we'll examine the predictions, insights, and oversights made by our senior consultants at Yield Tactics. In 2020 and 2021, amidst the chaos, our consultants diligently penned down their thoughts and strategies, which were then published in Yield Tactics magazine. Now, as we stand on the threshold of a new era, it's time to reflect. Were our predictions accurate? Did our strategies stand the test of time? More importantly, what blind spots did we fail to address? Through the lens of revenue management, sales, and pricing, we'll dissect our past analyses, exploring what worked, what didn't, and what we could have done better. Join us as we navigate the intersection of hindsight and foresight, aiming to glean invaluable lessons for the future of our industry. So buckle up, dear listeners, as we embark on this retrospective journey together. The past awaits and the future beckons. Welcome to the Yield Tactics podcast, revisiting the pandemic.
Hello everyone, I'm your host Karen. Now let's dive into the heart of our retrospective journey. Joining me today is Alexander Poisson, a partner consultant at Yield Tactics, whose expertise in revenue management and strategic planning has guided numerous companies through turbulent times. Welcome, Alexander.
Hello, Karen.
Alexander, we're about to explore another great article published in the January 2021 edition of Yield Tactics magazine titled Organizational Lesson Number 1, To Remember from the Unexpected Year 2020. It's a piece that resonated deeply with many in the industry during those uncertain times. Are you ready to revisit with me?
Absolutely, Karen. I'm intrigued to see how our perspective from 4 years ago holds up today.
Wonderful. Let's cue up the audio transcript of this insightful article and immerse ourselves in the thoughts and predictions of the past. Then we'll unpack its significance in today's context.
Okay, let's go.
Organizational lesson number 1, to remember from the unexpected year 2020. From our point of view, it is too early to draw conclusions from this ongoing global pandemic. There is, however, a fundamental trend that has been accelerated by the COVID-19 crisis, and that has become the number 1 priority for companies to the point of becoming the obsession of top management: digitalization. However, at Yield Tactics, we warn our partners, yes, digitalization is essential, but we believe that this cannot be a strategic position on its own. Digitalization is the trendy concept, the miracle solution to continue to sell and serve consumers in the current troubled times. On one hand, leading companies in this field have sustained extraordinary momentum during the most restrictive lockdown episodes. On the other hand, for the followers companies that engage in digitalization in a forced march, there is a real trap, which is to consider digitalization only as a way of selling, operating, and making profits in a degraded situation, while digitization of the economy is first of all a high expectation from consumers that many players in the tourism and transport industry have neglected. Digitalization must first and foremost meet a consumer need and not an internal need. Otherwise, the transformation will neither be successful nor accepted. After the unexpected year 2020 and at the dawn of an unpredictable 2021, digitalization must be considered as one of the tools to access a much broader skill: agility. Why become agile? We firmly believe that agility will be the trump card to emerge stronger from the pandemic, stick as close as possible to the return of demand, prosper in a future unprecedented competitive environment, and calmly face new crises of varying magnitude, which will inevitably impact the travel industry. In an increasingly interdependent society, what is remarkable is the acceleration of the frequency of occurrence of extreme events. We live in a world where major events follow one another, such as more frequent and intense climatic disasters. Faced with an increasingly uncertain and unpredictable world, the real qualities of a successful and sustainable business are resilience and agility. The agility to change its strategic positioning, to adjust its offer, to conquer or withdraw from market segments, to distribute its services on other distribution channels, and to market its products in accordance with the emotions of consumers. Agility of mind, so as not to get locked into pre-established thought patterns, to dare to question sales techniques that no longer work and partnerships that are becoming unbalanced. The agility to adjust costs and resources to sudden changes in demand and capacity. This requires flexible contractualization of services and resources with a no-holds-barred approach to outsourcing non-critical sales and revenue management processes. Digitalization is a fundamental trend, initiated in the 90s and accelerated by mobile internet in the 2010s. Realizing in the time of the coronavirus that your sales organization are lagging and wanting to remedy that is a good thing. But closing the gap can by no means constitute an ambitious business strategy in itself. On the other hand, placing the concept of agility at the heart of a travel company transformation project allows resilience in difficult times and hyper-competitiveness when market conditions return to normal. The digitization of the customer experience. Customer-focused digitization must be the result of a real transformation of the user experience and not just an overlay applied to an organization with aging IT processes and systems. As consumers, we all know examples of digitization with significant sticking points, such as waiting for a payment page that takes too long to load, the proliferation of service emails, or unresolved objections that prevent us from finalizing our purchase. Succeeding in your digital transformation project does not mean taking the existing stages of the user experience one by one to digitize them, but striving for an optimal customer experience, promoting the repurchase and sale of additional services. Today, the customer must too often adapt themselves to the travel sector constraints, while the attention of companies should be on fulfilling all the needs of the consumer during their journey by increasing the sales of complementary products and customer satisfaction. This approach is mutually beneficial, for example, by analyzing the customer acquisition process in detail. A consumer-focused approach will identify and reduce friction points during the purchasing process and therefore increase sales conversion. This approach has the advantage of being a generator of value. The customer no longer buys your brand because it is the cheapest, but because it is easy for them to buy and control their experience of using the services. A well-conducted digital transformation project must have the capacity to challenge commercial policies and operational processes to initiate non-technological optimizations that generate value, such as better information on services, lifting main objections to purchase, or marketing new price bundle offers in line with customer consumption patterns. When defining strategic orientations, care must be taken to distinguish between underlying trends and fad effects to avoid investing in technologies that will not be accepted over the long term by consumers. Take the example of contactless, currently an extremely popular method of exchange due to the active circulation of COVID-19. Demonstrating agility means adapting processes to be able to respond to a demand from customers and authorities by reducing the points of contact. However, engaging in longer-term contactless technology projects is a risky strategic choice. In 2 years' time, consumers finally delivered from the invisible threat of the coronavirus may want more human contact, remove their masks and the plexiglass barriers, and once again appreciate the human warmth during the checkout process. Implementation of new technologies in a post-coronavirus world, such as contactless, are therefore to be assessed above all through the prism of the consumer experience. Is the customer's deep need for contactlessness or for fluidity? Digitization is very often the best compromise between consumer expectations, the need to reduce costs, and the need to collect data for marketing. However, we should not ignore the part of the population that is attached to human contacts or uncomfortable with new technologies, and which may be overrepresented in market segments with high average prices. Digitization at the service of sales performance. The digitization of services to serve the customer is relatively easy because it is the breakdown of the successive steps of a consumer experience that serves as a common thread. The digitization of business organizations is less obvious and can quickly lead to multiple isolated and expensive technology initiatives. Therefore, we recommend that the digital transformation of sales and revenue management departments be linked to the experience of the decision maker. Business tasks can be broken down into 3 categories: those that allow generating business insights to decision makers, input, decision-making tasks, decision, and tasks whose role is to implement decisions, output. Depending on the organization, more or less well-structured processes govern these tasks. Systems make communication more fluid or even automate part of it. The input and output functions were the first ones to be automated, often with heavy IT systems and large teams to operate them. The decision function remains the least automated in the commercial arena, as the decision to set a price or accept or refuse a deal remains partly emotional, with the implementation of subtle strategies that rely heavily on experience in the business interpretation of many non-digital inputs. However, in recent years, we have observed interesting algorithmic approaches for revenue management and sales, occasionally supported by artificial intelligence innovation. Most of these processes are based on the definition of codified strategies in a system, and therefore on the quality of the human being who establishes them. There are many systems that recommend the implementation of actions, but few that recommend following a particular strategy according to market parameters. Focusing a digitization project on the needs of the decision maker does not mean that their role has more added value than the other players in the chain, but it does make it possible to structure a digitization approach on the flow of information circulating in the company. The decision maker needs reliable, up-to-date data and to quickly measure decisions that should be promptly implemented. Thus, digitization makes it possible to streamline and standardize information feedback from the field, to record and rapidly disseminate decisions, and to implement them in as quickly as possible. Technological agility. Any IT service provider can lead this type of project effectively But what is trickier is introducing agility into this rigid digital chain. Technology partners may not all be relevant to achieving this goal, particularly when their business model is based on supporting clients who do not really know what they want and invoicing multiple change requests without the possibility of a call for competition. Once locked into an ecosystem of solutions, access to agility relies on the quality of cooperation between two parties, the technology provider and their client. The good news is that the IT industry has changed dramatically over the past decade. Nowadays, developers use powerful and flexible frameworks that shorten development times. Thousands of small startups specializing in travel have thus put ready-to-use technological bricks on the market, each covering part of the needs, and most of them are easily connectable via APIs. Rather than having a rigid IT solution covering all needs poorly, it may be wise to consider a system that fulfills the role of the backbone of information flow management, such as a CMS or a reservation system, depending on the context, and connect it to independent systems with APIs. Thus, the user has a main workspace where data is centralized and it is easy to interchange external solutions. In 2021, contracting IT solutions operating in a closed environment, not connectable with APIs, difficult to configure by the user, or even with an interface that is not an internet browser, will anchor your organization in the past, and you will digitize without gaining in agility. In a rapidly changing world, IT solutions must be quickly deployable, a few months maximum, quickly profitable, 18 months maximum, easily scalable, substitutable, and capable of operating in a degraded mode if information is missing or if an additional component does not work. In a rapidly changing and uncertain world, it is best to commit to products that will deliver high value in a limited amount of time and then move on to another more successful solution by stimulating competition and innovation. It is no longer acceptable to spend 5 years implementing a business insights data reporting solution that will be delivered with an outdated visualization framework and a set of reports formatted for management needs that are no longer relevant. Digitization and resilience. When we talk about agile business, we think above all of speed and conquest of markets. Agility also means being able to quickly switch between a defensive position, resilience, and a conquering position, speed. Digitization must be one of the means of an agile business strategy, not the finality of a strategy. Digitization is today the best way to operate your business with a deadly and invisible virus in circulation. If the next planetary disaster will be a highly contagious computer virus that cripples the global internet for 24 months, the companies that can stay in business will be the ones able to continue to communicate, sell, and serve their customers in a different context, perhaps via private computer networks. Digitization projects must therefore not be calibrated only for a possible future pandemic, but to face other global, regional, or local events, such as hurricanes, earthquakes, or social conflicts. Digitization must therefore be considered from its conception as a resilient entity capable of operating in a degraded mode. Otherwise, it is no longer an asset, but an additional risk, and potentially an Achilles' heel in the next crisis. Resilience is an agile, strategic posture which is approached with digitization, but also has its roots in its organizational dimension. When facing an extreme event, it is being able to fall back on an elite team, a core of skills that will know how to operate a business department in a degraded mode, then make it grow again by transmitting processes and skills when the time to restart has come. Challenge current processes. Digital transformation requires agile support and project functions, capable of actively advising business decision-makers and deploying solutions quickly without falling into bureaucratic cracks, while guaranteeing the safety and resilience of systems in any case, but also in maintaining financial controls to ensure return on investment from budgets spent. Indeed, project management offices must become more efficient, and IT departments must be oriented towards the quality of service they provide to internal customers in order to become the architects of change. Before starting digital transformation projects, it is essential to challenge and thoroughly reconsider current processes. Otherwise, digitization will only be a rigid and unstable overlay affixed to a complex and unoptimized organization. To this end, it is necessary to precisely map the activities of the different departments and to determine for each of them whether the added value lies in the human or in the process. Thus, it will be possible to redistribute tasks with a hard core of versatile employees in whom you will invest heavily to develop their skills and satellite teams, eventually outsourced, who execute simple and quickly scalable processes. Digitization then becomes the tool to implement a strategic vision focused on the external customer and the internal decision-maker. This type of exercise has the advantage of rationalizing resources to focus the organization on what creates value. For example, many sales teams send public information on competitors' prices to their head office pricing teams, such as newsletters or internet deals, while central revenue management teams already have the tools and processes to obtain this information automatically. Rationalizing the organization could be focusing the sales teams on collecting non-automated market intelligence data, such as private pricing initiatives from competitors. Managerial agility. Agility is also the ability for management and teams to adopt the mindset and decision processes adapted to the context. In 2020, we saw too many decision-making reports in which the 2019 data benchmark was taking up too much importance, which gave a pessimistic view of the situation and did not ease the identification of a recovery curve early enough. In 2021, many reports will compare sales performance with 2020 data, with the risk of having a false impression of performance and not capturing all the opportunities present in the market. If the points of comparison for 2019 and 2020 are interesting, the real measure of the performance of sales and revenue management teams is the achievement of a budget defined according to financial objectives, allowing the company to survive and return to financial stability. Reading and correctly interpreting sales reports is decisive in understanding the situation. All the teams that have struggled to convert to data analytics over the past 2 decades risk misinterpreting reports and not properly contextualizing them. It will therefore be advisable to coach them so that these reports are used effectively for commercial relationships. Market share data, when known, will provide great added value to assess business performance regardless of the level of demand. The evolution of the main trading partners should be closely monitored. Competitors and distribution networks will adopt various agile positions. If demand on the market returned to pre-crisis levels and configurations, the agility premium will be especially useful during the recovery phase. In these troubled times, some distribution players may be more relevant than others and adjust their offers and services as closely as possible to new consumer expectations. It is with them that you should work and establish virtuous synergies. Managerial agility also means deciding quickly. The situations evolve at the tempo of the pandemic news, and the decision-making data is quickly outdated. You must therefore quickly collect the information, finalize a commercial agreement, and implement it to have a chance that your offer meets your customers successfully. Agile partners do not want to work with suppliers who take more than 5 days to set up a commercial deal. It is therefore necessary to challenge your internal organization and the decision-making leeway of your employees, audit the decision-making processes to measure the average response times, and design a more agile organization. To summarize, agility will therefore be the key skill for surviving and emerging stronger from the pandemic episode that has brought the travel industry to a halt. To achieve this, it is necessary to set up an agile sales organization, which involves working with employees, technology providers, and business partners who share this strategic objective. The increased digitization of business functions is now possible and inexpensive if the transformation project is thoughtfully planned and executed. The challenge will be not to reproduce the organizational and technological choices that have led in the past to the use of systems that are too rigid and not centered on the needs of the customer or the internal user. The common threads of successful transformation projects will be the chronological stages of the customer experience and the flow of business decision data. The digital infrastructure for the 2020S must be quickly implemented, configurable, and substitutable. For each solution, it will be necessary to fully appreciate the minimum duration of contractualization, the costs and resources required to enter and exit a technological solution, as well as its capacity to withstand systemic shocks. Preparing your organization to be more resilient is not just preparing for the next pandemic, but being ready to face other crises that will take unexpected forms. Finally, agility is above all a question of people, skills, and mindset. With human resources at their lowest point in 2021, focus must be on actions with high ROI. The revenue management team should be focused on the level of demand compared to a budget, reach of which affects the survival of the company more than ever. Sales departments will have to monitor their forecast market shares and fully understand the performance of travel agencies and business segments. We sense that organizations that take a forced march towards digitalization without fundamentally changing their ways of thinking and functioning will fail and be swept away by the next crisis. Before digitizing, you must simplify and optimize your processes. Agility should be part of your organization's DNA. The danger is embarking on a digital transformation plan and remaining stuck in it for 10 years without succeeding in gaining a competitive advantage. Digitization must create value and not just reduce costs, hence the need to integrate it into a broader strategic vision. Digitization is the component that will boost the performance of an already agile company thanks to its efficient organization, competent employees, and well-oiled processes. Not properly controlled, it can also represent a risk.
Alex, this idea of agility seems highly relevant, especially considering the challenges posed by the pandemic. As we step into 2025, does the information we've just heard still hold true?
Absolutely. That we've just heard in this article resonates with common sense. It's applicable not only during the pandemic, but also before, during, and after it.
But is this still a primary focus for travel and tourism companies today? Have they truly absorbed the lessons from the pandemic in this regard?
It really varies from one company to another, and even within a company, from one department to another, or even within a department, from one topic to another. Customer experience enabled by flexible technology is certainly something that companies are embracing and investing heavily in. However, for other aspects, the concept of agility may not always be at the forefront of leaders' mind. Agile tactics will play a crucial role in advising decision-making processes, emphasizing the importance of agility We highlight how turbulent the business landscape has been over the past 5 years and how turbulent it may remain for the next 5 years or more. Therefore, it's essential that structural decisions regarding technology and organization can withstand such significant change.
Could you provide more specific examples or insights derived from your consulting experience in revenue management and pricing?
Yes, for example, we've had the chance to provide advice on changes and advancement in revenue management system, such as inventory system and fair filing outsourcing, along with web scraping subscriptions. Our approach has been to ensure that the selected systems not only meet current requirements, but also have the flexibility to adapt quickly to unexpected changes in the business environment.
Does the same story apply with the introduction of AI solution into the revenue management and pricing departments?
Absolutely. It's more about accurately evaluating the technology and structuring contracts accordingly, considering the rapid pace of advancement in AI, especially with the quick obsolescence of initial software version of AI. Organization needs to be able to swiftly implement AI solutions, leverage them rapidly, which require agile infrastructure and fast deployment, as well as ensuring a strong return on investment in the business case. We should also have the flexibility to easily transition to the next generation of AI. The life cycle of AI solution can be less than 3 years, which is shorter than the typical subscription duration of many contracts. From this perspective, many insights from this article still hold significant relevance today.
Thanks a lot, Alex, and see you in the next episode of this series. We will be revisiting another article of the Yield Tactics magazine written during the pandemic.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to catch every upcoming episode. And if you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to reach out to us.
Stay connected with us on LinkedIn and visit our websites yieldtactics.com and airlinetactics.com for more exclusive content and information about our consulting and training services. From our websites, you can download the Yield Tactics magazine for free, featuring in-depth articles covering topics such as organizational transformation, advanced pricing techniques, marketing, revenue optimization, and distribution. The ideas and opinions expressed by our guests on this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or endorsements of Yield Tactics. Also, when we mention specific companies or products, it's important to note that such references do not constitute an endorsement by Yield Tactics, nor do they imply any business relationship between us.